Alright, welcome back to the channel. And if you're new to the channel, check this out. Those of you that have been in the channel a long time know exactly what this is. It's my 68 Cutlass Supreme. I've had this car since I was 18, and that was 13 years ago. It used to be dark green, and now it's black. So, what we're doing to the car right now, the reason it's jacked up on blocks, and there's no motor in it, for all you newcomers, in this bag, I've got a 70 455, and the bag don't want to come off. Oh, here it comes. Ooh, look at that, pretty. All right, so what's up with the 455? It's a 70 block. It's got the stock crank and rods in it. It's got aftermarket pistons. They're 30 over, forged. They're basically a flat top with a valve relief. I don't know how many cc you're gonna get out of that relief right there, but it's got good compression. And when I say it's got compression, this block has been decked. There's 19 thousandths been taken off of this block because it was so warped when I took it to the machine shop. Here's the original E-heads for 70. These are cracked. These are warped. I didn't even check to see if they're warped. They're gonna be warped. I know they're cracked because I can see the cracks. Some Jim Bob hillbilly backyard mechanic decided to do head gaskets on this motor. When I took it apart for the first time, I found Felpro blue head gaskets. And there's 10 bolts on each side to hold the heads down. Well, each bolt was not only loose, they're supposed to be at 90 pounds, but each one was loose, and they were all looser than each other. Like, somebody just put this shit together with a ratchet, and it caused the block to warp so bad. Now there's 19 thousandths off this thing. The piston is, it's a block deck clearance. It's zero decked. Chris put a dial bore gauge on all 8 cylinders first time we had the motor together, and it is zero decked across the board. So you got a zero deck, 19 thousandths off, damn near a flat top piston, stock crank rods. It's got a super awesome wicked camshaft. I'll get you the specs on that shit later. I can't remember. I think it was like a 520, 542 lift cam. I'm not sure the duration and the LSA and all that. I'll give you the card. We got our fancy shiny fuel pump, because everybody knows shiny parts make things go faster. And here's what $100 looks like in head gaskets per side. That's $100, and that's $100. We used an MLS gasket, which is multi-layered steel. If you look at them, if you don't know what that is, there's literally like 3 gaskets made out of steel sandwiched together. You can see it right there. The different layers. We went with an MLS gasket for a couple reasons. One, you can get custom thicknesses when they're crushed. I needed that because of how decked the block is. And 2, since I've got aluminum heads, I just wanted something. I wanted to treat the motor right. Why waste money on aluminum heads and not do the rest of the shit right? So I have a 45 thousandths thick gasket right here. It's 45 thousandths crushed. I can't really go with any thinner of a gasket because I'm just skating by on pump gas at this point because of the aluminum heads. Riley plugged the formula into whatever compression ratio checker he's on, and roundabout number to throw out there, this motor sits at about 11.2 to 1 compression. On factory iron heads, that would probably be a problem with heat and detonation and pinging and all that, but since we got the aluminum Johns, it works out good. But I cannot go with a thinner gasket than this, than the 45. And for the longest time, these were unavailable because of coronavirus when companies shut down. I kept checking back and back and back. Unavailable, out of stock. So I was actually going to reuse my old MLS gaskets. I copper coated them and everything until I realized I had to send to the heads shop because I had a couple valves that were leaking. But that's squared away now. There's the original gaskets from the first time this motor was together, and I copper coated them. I was ready to put them on. I cleaned the heads, and I found out I couldn't put the motor together. So these have been sitting in my basement for an entire 2 seasons, fall and winter. So we're not going to reuse these for extra insurance. Basically, I was gonna have to reuse them if I couldn't get new ones, and I coppered the shit out of them. But since they're now in stock, here we are, another $200 later. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna bolt these heads on, and I'll get that cam card for you.
You can
Alright, so here we have our orange chicken Chinese heads. They worked out pretty good. It was, I sent them back to the machine shop because I was getting a little bit of leakage on some valves. And they just did a quick valve job on them. They said everything else looked good. You can see where they ground a little bit there. There. But I had to grind this head down. If you see right there's a divot. That low spot. Right there. I probably wouldn't have had to do that had I had a stock fuel pump, which I probably should have just used a stock fuel pump. But the head wouldn't clear the pump. It was hitting the corner of it right there. So we took out the grinder and buzzed that down. So that is forever now the passenger side head. Out of the box, these are pretty good heads. They measure in at 78 cc's for the combustion chamber all across the board. We used our own valve springs, used Liberty valve springs. You know, mostly moving parts. You use your own moving parts, but the castings on these Pro Comp heads have improved drastically in the past, like, 10 years from what I've been reading. 10 years ago, they were questionable. And everything I'm finding on them now, everybody that's been running them, including myself, have no problem with these heads. Just use your own moving parts and, you know, do a valve job on them quick. And they're really nicely priced. The only thing different is they don't say Edel junk. They don't say Edel junk embossed in the front of the head. Like, that really matters anyway. Like, 'cause all my brackets cover that shit up anyway. Alright, let's get to it. Alright, so Chinese chicken heads are on. Valves are on. I already did it earlier. I did it on camera too. See? I was using that camera. Anyway, rockers are on, heads are on. These are not. I just threw them on here. They need to be tightened. So how I'm gonna do that, you might ask, is since I'm lazy, I'm just gonna take everything to zero lash and spin the motor over 90 degrees and zero lash everything again, spin it 90 degrees. I'll probably do that for 2 rotations of the crank and call it set. And when I'm done, I'll put a quarter turn on him for now.
And I said he's doing more work than just going by the firing order or whatever.
What do you mean? Doing by the firing order is the hard part. That's doing more work.
How's that doing more work? You're spinning at 90 degrees anyways, but then you're only doing 2 versus doing.
Listen to this guy. We're doing it the easy, lazy way.
16.
The way people say you're not supposed to do it, but lazy people do it anyway.
You're only gonna do 2 instead of doing 16 every time.
You're still doing a total of 16.
Yeah, but you're doing it 16 times 8, while you're only doing 2 times 8.
I don't have to think. So yeah, we'll be right back. Alright, so y'all remember that kid when you used a game called Bob It, where you had to like...
That kid would use a game?
Bop it, crank it, twist it, yank it, and fucking that game, well, we just reinvented the whole thing. We're gonna play this drunk game called 184366572. He's got the driver's side with the odd numbers, and I got the passenger side with the even numbers. So let's see how fast we can get this going.
Alright, so it's
184.
There, get your hand ready.
184
3 6 5 7 2.
2.
Alright, got it?
Wait.
We'll just yell it out.
I think so. Hang on. We're trying. Hang on. Alright, ready?
1 8 4 3 6 5 7
2.
Okay.
Alright, ready?
1 8. You do 4.
Oh wait, hang on. 2 4. Okay, yeah, ready?
Okay. 1
4
3 6 5 7 2.
Oh wait, no, you had 5.
No, I did 6 after you did 5.
Alright. Finale.
Okay, ready? Basically, you do
I know what I'm doing. Go ahead.
1 8.
Why are you helping me out? We're opposing teams right now.
1 8 4 3 6 5 7
2. Alright, the timing was advanced on that one.
Let's kick it back.
Well, that was easy. Look at it. Look at it! Just stare at it. It looks good. I don't know how I feel about the aluminum heads of the blue valve covers, though. They look good. Definitely shows off you got aluminum Chinese stuff going on here, but I don't know, it kind of still looks industrial, but who knows? To get my big air cleaner dual snorkel kit on there and it's all hooked up with vacuum lines and other junk under the hood, brackets, accessories and stuff, maybe it'll pull it all together. But I think it looks good. Rockers are all done. Intake's on. Riley's bringing over my carburetor that he borrowed for his Buick. Yeah. Let's see what we can do next. Alright, so here we are. Another day, another disappointment. Got dark out last time. That was out there. Now we're inside. Flywheel is on. It looks good. It's all cleaned up. It's I wiped all the grease off of it. And look at that. I'm already starting to see rust. Bastards. So, got the bushing in there. Pilot bushing. It's made out of brass. And we got the clutch outside. And if you were lucky enough to catch that episode that Riley put out on me in the garage snapping out about them not giving me bolts for a pressure plate to the flywheel, that was fun. Oh, I have the bolts now. So we're going to try and put this onto that. And now I can even put the pressure plate on it. So let's give it a try. And here we go. Let the games begin of more bullshit and things that can just stop you in your tracks from having fun. You see this bushing right here? This is the bushing that came in the kit, right? This alignment tool fits in that bushing pretty good. Look at that. Whoop. Goes right in, how it should. Now this bushing that I have in here is bigger. It's a bigger bushing, and the hole is smaller. The only thing is, I have a 350 crank in my basement. I have an Olds 350 crank that's drilled out in the back to have a stick shift. It came like that from the factory, and it had that bearing in it. It's a new bearing, bushing. Had that bushing with it. It's a new bushing. So I used that bushing to have this crank drilled out. I took the bushing and that old crank, the 350 crankshaft, to the machine shop so they knew what size to make this. This bushing fits in here just as it should. But for some reason, this tool just doesn't want to go in. It'll go in if you twist it in. So, there, it's in. I don't know if it's just tight, but Chris is going to come over with an actual input shaft out of a Muncie and use that as the tool, because this is plastic and it's not, it just simulates what it's supposed to be. It's not a real input shaft. So, I'm going to have Chris come over and we're going to try and jam that in there, and if it don't fit, I'm gonna have to pull that bushing out, and I'm gonna have to like get dimensions or sizes or whatever. I'm gonna have to find somebody that makes a bushing that size with a bigger hole. Fun. Alright, so what you just saw was me pulling that bushing out with a slide hammer. Here it is right here. My hand. It should fit and it just doesn't. I was almost going to ream this out with a drill bit, and I still might, because here we have one for a Chevy that works, but it's not big enough to go into the crank. The one I pulled out, and here's one for a Pontiac Chris gave me. It was a leftover from his Firebird. These look the same in diameter. These should work. The only thing is that the Pontiac one is slightly taller. I mean, slightly, if you see that. So, and this one's an actual bushing. This actually spins. That's got bearings in it, other like the old bushing style. So now I'm going to try and bang that into the crank with a socket and get it in there straight, hopefully, and maybe these problems will be resolved, and then I can bolt the fucking transmission to it. Because at this point, I'm losing my mind and interest in getting this done. But as you and I, and you all know, and I know, is that is not an option. So let's get this shit done. Alright, so after countless hours and aggravation and confusion, wasn't sure what to do next, Chris came through. That bearing, not the bushing, but the bearing that Chris gave me, the leftover he had for the Pontiac, it worked. It went in, and as I showed you, I can't remember if I showed you, but anyway, not only did it fit into the crank nice, but the input shaft fits. And instead of using this stupid little plastic alignment tool they give you, you know how those work, we actually have a real piece of a Muncie 4-speed as an alignment tool. Look at that carnage. Carnage is awesome. Look at that. Look at it. So yeah, now this piece resides as a permanent alignment tool. But like I said, it's no longer riding on a bushing. We're using that press-in bearing, and watch it go. Look at it go. Look at it. Look at it.
Look at it! Look at it! Look at it! I want all of you to look at it!
Maybe, just maybe, now we can put the clutch on it. Put the clutch on, get the pressure plate put on, bolt it on, drag the transmission out the house, bolt that up, and the moment that happens, this episode's gonna be over. But on the good news is, the next episode you guys will get to see is when that turd is getting dumped into this turd like that. So, you might be asking yourself, Marty, why isn't the clutch and the pressure plate on yet? Well, let me explain why the clutch and the pressure plate still aren't on here. Okay, so you just saw me replace that bushing bearing thingy that Chris gave me that this now spins on. Wow. So, apparently, my 11-inch clutch, the disc, it fits on this flywheel with no problem, but the pressure plate doesn't bolt to this flywheel because evidently it only goes up to a 10.5 inch for the pressure plate, but it perfectly fits the 11-inch disc. So
strangle me, shoot me, run me over, whatever it takes, I'm in hell!
So, I had to order another flywheel. It was yesterday. It was a lot of money. So, forget what I was gonna say. No, that's not it either. Oh, yes. I'm waiting on the clutch. The clutch. Oh look, my phone's ringing. Okay, so before we were rudely interrupted, Harold. He didn't know any better, but still. Before we were rudely interrupted, I'm waiting on a flywheel to come in the mail out of Texas because I ordered one from Summit and it was in their Texas location. So it'll probably be here in like 8 to 6 business weeks. No, it'll probably be here on Monday or Tuesday or maybe, nah, not tomorrow. Today's Saturday. No way it's showing up today, so I'm banking on it showing up on Monday. If it shows up on Monday, I will try my fastest to install it and show it to you, and I'm not wasting my time busting the camera out replacing this because that's just wasted film, wasted time. Nobody wants to see that. So I gotta rip that off, sell that to somebody that wants to use it. It's a good flywheel. It's really good. You know, I was gonna put a 10.5 clutch in it, but I got that really nice 11-inch McLeod. So it was either put a 10.5 clutch in it and run the risk of maybe slippage or burning a clutch up, or just keep the nice heavy-duty 11-inch that I have. So, when that flywheel shows up, you will see about it. You won't hear about it. No, you'll see about it. You're watching this shit. I'm just a little, every step I take, I get something, I run into a problem, then I correct that problem. Let's move on to the next thing. Bam! Another problem. Alright.
One eternity later.
Okay, so new flywheel came in, and I took that straight down to the machine shop to have it balanced. I was just gonna run with the 10.5, but my dad insisted that I keep the 11-inch clutch. I was just gonna go the cheap way and get a nice like 10.5 clutch. But he insisted, and I told him I don't want to pay for a new flywheel. I said I'll just get a clutch. He's like, fine, I'll pay for it. So he bought the flywheel. So thanks, Dad. So that's away. You send that away, and they fix that shit. And he's gonna call me in a few days, and hopefully it'll be ready for pickup by Tuesday, because that's when I get off work. But since this video is already dragging on way too long, as is, I'm gonna cut it off here because, well, obviously there's nothing more to show you, and I've been trying to have this video up for like the past 3 weeks. I don't know, like early July when we were working, doing all this work. So, yeah. Next video, we'll put the tranny on the motor, and I probably won't even film that because I just want this process over. And then, yeah, we'll just be spooning this piece right into the car, and hopefully it goes in. And on that video, I have some nice, shiny new car parts to show you as well that I haven't shown any of you guys yet. So, I feel a little bit better today than I did the other day. Anything to add? Phone man? Look, he just sits on his phone.
So, 5 or 11 inch or not.
Why, you want it?
But it would work on the 4-speed.
I gotta cut him out. This has nothing to do with this video. Tell him to shut the fuck up. Everybody point at Riley. Say it with me. On 3. 1, 2, 3. Alright. And as for those cam specs I promised way earlier in the video, don't worry, I didn't forget. I didn't forget! It's an Elgin cam, and Riley's gonna read you the specs because they're really tiny. Look at the pretty box though.
Something about lift and lobes and stuff?
I know it's a 520, 542 lift cam, but what's the LSA and the duration and all that shit?
Duration advertised 304, 316. At 50,
I think it's a 107 LSA.
234, 244 exhaust. Lobe intake center line. Well, hold up, where's that?
Yeah, this cam card's weird. It doesn't read like a normal one.
Or no, yeah, lobe intake exhaust. I did the this doesn't tell you LSA, but I told you when I ran the cam specs it was a 107 intake because it's got a 107 intake center line and a 117 exhaust center line. But I think when we ran the specs and through the cam calculator, it came out to a 107 LSA or 109.
I think, no, Chris is looking at it. I think Chris said it's a 107. Whatever. 107, 109, that's so close to each other. Now you know my woof or cam specs, and that's why it goes lumpity lump, chop chop, and it actually sounds really good. And it has power to back it up. So, alright. I'll see you guys later. Don't forget to stay tuned and wait for the next video to come out because I'm really trying to get this car done because it's starting to kill me. So, I'll see you guys later.